Hail, hail, the Celtics are here, guys, and what the hell do we care now? It's the last hours and days of the transfer window, and in typical Celtic fashion, we are doing the supermarket sweep right now. We have got the trolley, and we are running all over Europe, trying to find something that we can afford to throw in our basket before the time runs out. For the Sorare CSC, joined as always by, first of all, McBride Ace. McBride, good to see you, my man.
Hello, hail, hail. See, Michael Ross is already calling us out for being 3 minutes late. To be fair, it was Quinny's fault tonight, so we're going to blame Quinny. So, there you go. Not me and Sean's fault at all.
That's it. And, of course, joined as always by Sean Etienne 23. Sean, good to see you, my man.
Good to see you, Quinny. Good to see you, McBride Ace. Apologies, Michael, for being late.
We'll do our best. And hail, hail to everyone that's joining us. We've got like a few new signings kind of in the offing. And in typical Sorare CSC style, we've probably got a few 2 cents to share on the business that's going on. Maybe some insight on some of the players that we're pulling in as well. And yeah, we'll be taking all the chat from you guys in the live chat, all the thoughts and feelings. When you're here, live or after we've been live, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. As guys, we need to get all the good luck, all the good juju that we can get in the Celtic fan base together before we get to the weekend, which we'll be talking about in the show tonight as well, because I've had before coming on tonight, I was a wee bit late, but still get the tunes on to get in the mood before the stream. And I've said to McBride, it's Zombie Nation week for me on the playlist, so it's about trying to get into some sort of mood for it, and we can only do that together. So if you're watching the stream, you're having a good time, hit the like button, help us out. And yeah, I don't know where to start, guys. I think the latest news we've had, or the kind of breaking part that we've got now, it's came up in the chat already. McBride's been out and swept the floor, as you'd expect. As Paulo Bernardo has been linked to Celtic, the Benfica graduate midfielder. Any one of you want to come in, if you've seen him, heard about the rumour, what do you think, or any of the above?
I haven't seen him personally, so I've got no comment.
I haven't seen him, but I've already bought 2 rares, believe it or not.
Yeah.
In the last 5 minutes. No, I actually hold on to his limited card. I bought that about a year ago or something, so I can't remember exactly why I bought it, but the report I seen said that they do want him to go, so it does seem like a solid rumour as well. It's not like one of these just random links. Like, I think that could happen. I think he's a pretty talented player, but one of these guys where doesn't seem good enough for Benfica, but bear in mind Jota wasn't really good enough for Benfica as well. They let him go, so I think it might be one of these sort of loan with option to buy type deals. Young midfielder. I can't remember exactly why I bought him a year ago, but as soon as I seen his name come up and I seen I already owned some of his Sorare cards, I just bought 2 rares, and they were good prices as well. So there we go. No real insight into him as an actual player, but I think that seems a reasonable direction at this point if we need guys in terms of midfield, if that's what they think. But
yeah, I'm always quite happy to shop out of teams that have got good academies if it's not like, and again, surplus to requirements in different situations isn't always the be all and end all, like we said with Jota, a great example. I managed to catch a wee bit of Paulo Bernardo when I was a Darwin Núñez super rare owner back in the day when he was at Benfica, and it was like round about the time when he started getting a card, I had to go back and try and find the kind of games, because I only watched Darwin Núñez at Benfica for a few months before, because he was never fit, and then when he was fit, I was watching him, and then he got the move to Liverpool kind of thing. But it was this little stretch of games here. Didn't do anything amazing, but I remember, he was pretty good getting across midfield. Now, the quality of opposition we're talking about here, Tondola, Aruca, Gil Vicente, Morenese, Santa Clara, that kind of spell there, it's definitely nowhere near the good and the great of football to kind of test yourself in, but he looked pretty capable. He went around the pitch pretty well.
St Johnstone.
But I did think, because a lot of guys maybe a bit more familiar with the likes of like Florentino Luis, and there was another one in that position that didn't make it at Benfica, Gedson Fernandez. He kind of plays that kind of role, plays that kind of position, and he was behind both of them. And I think like both of them, as you guys know, and a lot of people watching this will know, those guys have had loans, transfers, etc. And I think it was when they first kind of vacated is when he got those minutes back then. Because I was quite chuffed about him, and I said so much on a video. It's like, oh, watching Benfica, Darwin Núñez, this guy's got a rookie, or this guy's got his first card out, and based on like some of those transfers, maybe this is a guy to watch. And I had 2 separate Benfica fans message me saying, this guy's not good. Like, don't be mistaken by those games, kind of thing. So I'm quite conflicted. I seen him, thought he looked was all right, and then people that are maybe a bit closer to it at that time told me, don't get your hopes up. And here we find ourselves.
Well, I was talking earlier on to you guys about, Ajax, and just if you look at their transfer dealings and transfer rumours, just all of it makes sense. They were trying to get Spezia from Krasnodar. That didn't work out. And then they were and then with Sutalo, Medic, all these players all make a lot of sense. And they, like, for example, who's that guy they just signed today? The Georgian?
Miktuadze or something.
Miktuadze. So him and Spezia are roughly the same profile. Do you know what I mean? Or they're in that same kind of high percentile of performance player. And when you look at how they operate and you just look at every name they're linked with, it's just the same story. Like, they were linked with Hiroki Ito of Stuttgart, and it was the same thing. Left-footed centre-back, a ball-playing centre-back, playing out from the back, just off the charts. Everything they do just makes sense, and Celtic are just the complete opposite. We're just getting linked to random guys from Benfica's second team, and it's hard to kind of constantly have to do this. Transfer window after transfer window, and even the good stuff under Ange, a lot of that was led by Ange, who recently said this in a press conference with Tottenham, basically saying, look, there's so much talent in different leagues across the world and you can't be a snob. You have to accept that there's guys like Mitoma, there's guys like Hatate who did come to football a little later with the university system in Japan, but they're as good as anybody. But now that's gone with Ange, and now you've seen with Kwon and Yang, who sure could become really good players. Yang looks really good. It's just all a little bit keep the faith. None of it looks... A lot of these players just on paper don't look objectively good and don't make objective sense. Will they then go on and be good players or terrific players? They very well could do. But the risk reward, you're needing a lot of good fortune. And right now, it's just depressing looking across Europe and seeing all these other clubs acting the complete opposite from Celtic. And especially when it comes to Sorare. I mean, can you imagine Spezia at Celtic? Can you imagine all these guys playing for Celtic? How exciting it would be. I just feel like we're getting shortchanged, and we'll probably... We're in a coin flip for the league. That's great, but it's just, we could be so much better if the right people were in charge.
They're a bit more expensive as well, though. I mean, like, obviously Sutalo was 20 million. The guy Borges that we talked about before at Man City, you highlighted him, Quinny. He went for like 15 million. Like, I think the hard thing as well is we're not actually shot in the same bracket as some of these teams as well. But the alternative to that is if you look at Salzburg shop in the bracket of 2, 3, 4 million, and they sell guys at 15, 20 million. They even did it with like Haaland, they bought him, they sold him for what? It's like 15 million or something like that to Dortmund. And they just every year they bring in guys, and they're a really exciting young team. So I think you're right. I think what I'm getting for that is we're kind of dabbling in an area that we're not experts in, and people will say that we're judging guys before they come in, but when Hatate came in from Tally, we're hammering everybody in Japan, and Hatate was obviously a good player, and some of these guys might be guys who will be a good player in a year or two, but what we're thinking about just now is how do we win at Ibrox and how do we perform in the Champions League this season, and that's even Brendan talked about quality as well, so I think that's on his mind as well, but actually increasing the quality of the first team rather than buying guys who are squad players. I would describe them as young squad players.
I don't know if you guys were avid J-League watchers before the Hatate and Kyogo and Maeda and all that came to Celtic, but myself and Mark Patrick Rare, who's currently not well, so let's hope he gets back fit soon. We'd watched a lot of the J-League because the J-League was quite cheap and you could get a lot of good value in the J-League on Sorare. So we had become kind of J-League fanatics for that year, 2021 or whenever it was. So when we signed Maeda and Hatate, and Adeguchi less so, but Maeda and Hatate, on our podcast a I believe something like this was said, which was, this will bring some kind of athletic competency to Celtic that we just haven't seen in a long time, because we had the likes of Rodgers and guys who were technically very they were all, kind of technical players like that, but they weren't really fit and certainly couldn't get up and down the pitch as quick as Maeda or Hatate. So to see those players coming in, it was so exciting, and you thought maybe there's going to be a theme here. Maybe we'll just only get those kinds of players, and the team will just be packed with guys that can just move around the pitch, in an incredible way compared to some other teams that have got players that you can really get at because they're not that mobile. But we've just kind of not done anything. We've just done a kind of 50-50, and we're still kind of doing it. We're not going towards one, optimising one real core style. We've just got a lot of players that are good at some stuff and others are poor at other things, and it's just not very inspiring. And from a Sorare perspective, when you see those guys in Japan and you think the potential, like Mitsuta at Hiroshima, I mean, can you imagine him, Maeda and Kyogo as a front three? How much sense that makes? You've just got three guys who are all just so good at, certain things, and they all share that kind of cohesion. That would be great. But now we're bringing in Luis Palma. I don't know much about him. I just know that he shoots from distance a lot and just seems like a bit of a mess. It's just not a very coherent recruitment policy. And I think everybody can admit that now. I think we've had the brilliant Ange phase, and I think we can now go back to the reality, which is there's a bunch of people at Celtic who really shouldn't be there, who really don't know what they're doing compared to our European counterparts.
It does feel like it's it's running around kind of aimlessly at this point, and it is kind of just keep the faith is the only thing you've kind of got at this last hour of the window, as it were. I know we've actually got a couple of days, but it feels like it when you see Palma is getting flown across to sign. Hopefully that happens in before the deadline. And obviously we're talking about this Paulo Bernardo. Is Paulo Bernardo, would that be on loan kind of thing again? Did you see? I just seen the name linked more than anything else, or is that transfer?
I think it's maybe a loan with buy option or some type of loan. I don't think it's an out and out transfer. So similar to what we did with Jota, I think there was an option or a fee discussed, but pretty sure it's looking like a loan deal. So.
Well, there we go. Back to that. And I think the other one as well, we've seen this guy's name linked around for about a week or so. It feels like this is maybe picking up a bit of steam on Twitter and whatever, and it's Kvitsgarden. Again, I don't know if you guys have seen much of him. I've seen a little bit of the Midgetland game. I was watching my WAS on the One Football app. Which was that's fine. I call them Midgetland. Right? Leave me alone. I didn't actually notice until getting ready for the podcast how bad he actually scored in this game. He hit 2 BCMs and just overall was pretty mince. He ran the channels, he got into the goal face. He kind of looked a bit like Abada in that sense, if you know what I mean, in terms of what he was like. And I wasn't overly impressed. When you look at his scoring history, he's hit a real purple patch. And, fair enough. Nordersland, good opponents. Copenhagen, he's got, what does he win here? A penalty or something? But again, like that. This is all the guy's got going for him, really, is this run of 7 games over 8 or whatever it is, So I don't know what to think about it, to be honest with you.
Seems quite a big fee, that. I mean, like, they were talking about 6 million and then there was other talk of 4 million and now they're talking about maybe 4 million rising to 6. But it's hard to comment if you don't really know somebody that well. I mean, it looks as if he's a goal scorer, but is that really the area we're struggling just now? I mean, I think we're struggling a wee bit in creativity. In the Kilmarnock game, we never created any chances. Realistically, we never really created enough chances. St Johnstone game, we created enough chances, we didn't score them. But when I was looking at the stuff on Kyle Go and stuff, it didn't look as if Furu actually had many chances. So the problem, I think, is in the middle of the park, trying to create chances for the guys that you want to get the chances. So Matt O'Reilly's arriving and end all the chances, but really what you want is Furu to be getting the chances because he's a guy who puts the ball in the net. So do we need to spend 6 million on a 21-year-old striker? Or do we need to buy a left back? Do we need to buy a goalkeeper? that's the type of conversation I think we have to have. Do we need panic? Not panic, but the last couple of days of the window, we need to go and spend 6 million a 21-year-old striker now just to make everybody feel happy, and then realise that the defence is mince and we're getting tortured in the Champions League by good teams. Like that's the concern, obviously, with how we've done the business over the transfer window.
Yeah, because it's been quite obvious, like throughout the I don't know, obvious through pre-season necessarily, but we all kind of suspected coming into this window, like Rodgers might want to change the left back. He might want to actually recruit some sort of reinforcements in the midfield that, you know, give the team something a bit different, because we didn't expect Turnbull to get the minutes he got. And, you know, he was really impressive in the first game. But again, I've got comments in here tonight saying they don't want to see him kicking anymore, for us, certainly. So it's one of those ones where a lot of the team have maybe been kind of on a shaky nail. And I would have expected and hoped Rodgers would have assessed and acted perhaps quicker. But the only thing you can't rush through is the only thing I'm kind of thinking about in terms of the timing of the business necessarily, is that you can't rush through it. You need matches to happen before you can see where some guys land necessarily. But with the Palma one, having not seen that much of him, like, it's kind of hard to really be to really have much on it. But I worry more when we're getting guys from obscurity, you know, like Aris and Greece, or I'm sure it's Greece that they're in, versus Paulo Bernardo from Benfica, if you know what I mean. Like, I think there's only so bad he could be, if you get me, versus someone that is coming from obscurity. And yeah, we've got Juranovic's that came out of Legia Warsaw's, but we've got umpteen other ones, obviously, that we could sit here and name all day that don't come out there. So it just feels, with it being so last minute and with it being like so important to us this season, everything that's going on, that type of signing is like this will save the day. Doesn't really feel like it's appropriate, does it? Or it doesn't really feel like it's what we were expecting.
Well, the only way you can judge people that you haven't seen play is to use data to judge. And data is just the objective things they actually do in the park. And I know there's lots of people just generally offended by the concept of that for whatever reason. But Luis Palma just doesn't make a lot of sense. There's nothing stands out when you look at his actual objective actions. It looks like just a run-of-the-mill, decent enough winger. Looks like his decision-making's really bad. Doesn't just have anything that just jumps out that says, oh, we should pay 3.5 million euros. That's a lot of money. The risk-reward just isn't great. For me anyway, I don't think the risk-reward's very good for that amount of money. I'm not slagging him. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying the risk-reward is poor. It's not that he's a bad player. Every single professional football player is good. And every professional football player that makes it at any level is a good player. Whether or not that player can be the right player for a certain team is a completely different story. And it's why certain players go to Team A and are really poor and then sign for Team B and they're great. And when you're not really looking out for that, like Celtic clearly aren't at this moment in time, with this kind of scattergun approach to the recruitment and not really having a clear idea of how it is we're going to play, just opens yourself up to a really bad season. And it just opens yourself up to things turning ugly really, really quickly. And look at the sentiment, look online. People are raging, much more raging than I am, by the way. People are really raging.
That's just winsome.
And that, because my anger is all directed towards the people that run the club and who don't allow for any accountability. They don't allow us to really have a voice. The fans are kind of shut out of this little cabal. So people can get all mad and all angry in the comments and slag everyone for trying to, just illuminate a little bit more or just give their thoughts and opinions. But maybe go and do that towards the board. Maybe go and do that towards people that are really holding the club back from being better. And at the end of the day, Luis Palma, nothing against him. He's a very talented footballer just to play professional football. But his profile doesn't make any sense, really. And yes, Anthony Fagan's correct. He's very good at dead set pieces, dead balls, as is David Turnbull, and the sentiment towards Turnbull's toxic. So, right, I'll ask you a question, guys. Would you not think that midfield needs more athletic, mobile players that can move about the pitch, press, really?
I would say yes, right? But also what I would say is I think McGregor's been getting slated this week saying like he's like Brown and we need somebody mobile next to McGregor. McGregor can be mobile, you know. So it's what you're asking McGregor to do. If he's not been mobile, it's because he's probably been told not to be, you know, if he's kind of stagnant or whatever.
And even this, by the way,
position,
sorry, people need to be accountable for the nonsense. The profit. As soon as the fans put money to buy players, then they get a point. Are you serious? Are you a serious person? That's all the fans do is put money into the club. It's just rude, disrespectful comments from people like that. You just think, do you have any idea how much Celtic means to all the fans and how much money they pour in? The significant income of Celtic is the fans. It's people like us who actually care about the club. It's just this relationship needs to die. People need to really understand, like, we are the club. We fund the club. We buy the season tickets. It's just getting really infuriating that this just seems to be missed. That we are just shut out and we have just to accept whatever happens behind closed doors. It's clearly the profit. Clearly, must be Peter Lawwell's, burner account or something like that, or maybe one of Peter Lawwell's sons, or maybe Dermot Desmond's son.
Maybe it's his cousin. I've only seen a highlight reel of Palma, so I think there's a couple of points. He plays in the position Jota was in, so I think we do need somebody in that position. I know we're saying we've got loads of wingers and everything, but I do think we need somebody on the left-hand side. Maeda is a really good player. I like him, but against like Kilmarnock, where they're organised, and against St Johnstone at home, doesn't really work very well against a kind of low block type team. Just doesn't suit him, right? So it's a different type of player. So if you get somebody in there in midfield, I think the main problem is that you could play Iwata, McGregor, and O'Reilly, and I think that actually would be better than playing Turnbull. So Rodgers seems to like Turnbull, but then he comes out and he talks about moving the ball quickly and all that type of stuff. And then you look at David Turnbull, and I don't mind David Turnbull. I bought him in Sorare, but why would you say that and then play David Turnbull, who doesn't really do any of those things? So I'm kind of more annoyed that Iwata has not actually been given a chance yet, because McGregor, if he's playing in that defensive midfield role, has a job as a defensive midfielder. If you want to play somebody in behind him and say, right, you go further forward, then we can start criticising him for not coming up with goals or not coming up with assists. But he's playing as a defensive midfielder. So, I think there's a lot of stuff going on there. And in terms of signings, we'll see who comes in and we'll see how good they are and all that type of stuff. But if we buy somebody as a left winger, then I think it's got to be somebody that's different from what Maeda offers us, and maybe this guy does. Maybe he's got some similarities to Jota. I don't know if he's anywhere near as good as Jota, but over and above that, we've got other issues as well. We kept a clean sheet against St Johnstone, and Joe Hart's had a better game and all that type of stuff, but the defence still a problem as well, partly due to recruitment and maybe partly or a bigger part due to injuries. But this might be a point where we've got to take in a loan, just because we've got so many injuries. Not every player that comes in has to be somebody at £6 million that we want to sell on 2 years. We might need to get somebody in as a bit of experience to get us through 6 weeks of games, because Nawrocki and Vickers are injured. Because I like Nawrocki. I mean, I think he looks good, but he's injured already, and that's also a wee bit of bad luck. But in terms of what you're saying about the recruitment and stuff, Sean, I do agree. It's almost back to how it was before Ange. Under Ange, we signed Johnston. As soon as we signed Johnston, people were thinking, oh, he's a good player, he's an international, he's playing at the World Cup. I think Juranovic is going to leave, and then Juranovic left and we already had Johnston in, and now we're back to scrambling again at the end of the transfer window. So it does seem a kind of world apart. There's no getting away from that, even if you do like the guys we've signed. So
yeah. The Ange comments I heard in the Tottenham press conference, where, again, anyone wants to pull up, Sean mentioned it earlier, when he's talking about spotting Matoma and Hitati on their debut and whatever, he mentions speaking to Celtic about signing the guys from Japan as well. And I'm kind of paraphrasing, and he's kind of paraphrasing as well. But when you listen to him doing it, obviously he was actually there. But he's saying stuff like, I had to tell them, this will be fine. I had to tell them. He wasn't just saying to Celtic, oh, go sign Kyogo, and they're cool. Okay, no problem, and went off and done it. There had to be a wee bit more of push from him. which you would expect if they're going to spend millions of pounds of the fans' money on players. But
apparently,
at this point,
Quinny, what the fans put in couldn't even pay Kyogo's wages, according to this lunatic. I mean, honestly.
No, don't be offending the viewers, Sean. Come on.
No, I'm offending him, that specific viewer. If it was me, if it was my channel, blocked, banned, out, security, see you later.
I didn't catch the St Johnstone game myself. I was away on anniversary duties this weekend, so no football for me on Saturday. But Lagerbielke apparently not looking too good there against Stevie May. And what we're saying about the defence as well, this is something that should have been really forward planned into this season. Starfelt or no Starfelt, Kobayashi clearly wasn't up to task. And then beyond that, you're looking at Welsh maybe moving on, and there was always going to be the need for like an imperious centre back to come in. Maybe Naroki could be that guy, but like you've already said, he is injured, and even with him, even if he was fit, it would still feel very much like it's not quite there, because again, all it takes is one further injury, and like the defence feels vacant. All of a sudden, we're playing Scales and Lagerbielke last weekend, so. Yeah, a lot of the talk is in the forward positions, attacking midfield. Palma, dead ball specialist, and Bernardo, who's probably a bit more. Bernardo probably does the job McGregor's been doing, for the last week or two under Rodgers, that kind of sit and controller role, and you maybe allow McGregor to go into a different position on the pitch. But I still feel that defence, like there's been no movement in left back. It's been two centre backs come in, but let's see with that, and let's say goalkeeper is still there. So. Yeah, that's probably the main part of it that does really concern me is like at the beginning of the season, and then I'll stop talking, sorry, but like Abada, Kyogo and Maeda, I was waxing lyrical. I was thinking this is a front three all season long. This will be brilliant. They're all firing. They've got them gelled and they're bouncing. 2 games later, we want to get rid of half them basically and replace them. It's mental, in that sense. So like it feels like everything is all over the place. We're signing Kvitsgaard and we're going to sign De Palma or whatever his name is, Palma, and. So I don't know. I'm in a twirl about it all. I don't really know what's going on in some ways.
I don't think we need to get rid of those guys. I think the problem is like if Furu was out, who would you start up front at Ibrox, for example? Because O's out at the moment, so you've got that problem because you don't have. In the past you had him and you had Giacomakis, and Giacomakis was a different type of striker as well. So at the end in Kilmarnock, we brought on Yang's crossing the ball over and Furu's standing in the middle. Now, Furu's never a guy that's going to win a header against a Kilmarnock defender, so there's no sort of alternative plan there. The reason I like us signing a left winger or somebody plays in that position is because they're a different option from Maeda. Because there might be games that Maeda doesn't play in that position just because of the tactical style. So I think Maeda will be really good at Ibrox. I think he'll be good in the Champions League away from home. He's really good at pressing. He's got pace. He was brilliant in the Aberdeen away game. But then there's other games where he looks as if he's kind of nullified a wee bit. And teams will be looking at that and thinking, well, if we just sit back, these guys struggle a wee bit because they've got Abada on that side and they've got Maeda on that side and they struggle to like find the creativity to beat a man or whatever. So that's signing somebody in there is good, but it does seem as if we're really on the back foot with it. Apart from Sean obviously giving a paracetamol a sore head. That's a good line. That I've never heard that one before. That's an absolute belt.
I think he has mental health problems. It's probably some care in the community thing. So I'm going to lay off the prophet. That's the last time. Yeah. Do you guys think that Rodgers really even knows what he's trying to do in terms of the players and the system? Do you think Rodgers even has with conviction, understands what he's trying to do with that team, or do you think he was maybe hopeful that he could get a group of players in and then find that along the way? Because Kilmarnock and St Johnstone looked like a team that didn't really have much conviction in terms of what the system was supposed to be. It looked like the remnants of how Ange liked to play without all of the things that made it really, really powerful. I mean, the final third passes has went way down, which means our galleries go way down on Sorare.
I don't think he knows, to be honest with you. I think he maybe thought he knew going through pre-season, and then when actual football matches happen, when injuries happen, and the situations we've had over the Kilmarnock and St Johnstone game happen, I think anything he did think, he probably has really went back to the drawing board on. And it maybe feels that's part of the fire that's got the transfer department to like maybe go and make some bids all of a sudden at the final hurdle. But no, I don't think he knows, because I think, again, I said it as soon as he came back in, like the only good, well, not the only good thing, but I suppose one of the good things, you know, about Bredan Rodgers is that he plays a style of football. And if you were to put Bredan Rodgers next to any of the kind of template style of plays that we know around world football, you'd put him quite close to like tiki-taka, Barcelona, death by 1,000 passes kind of style, you know, attacking wingers, midfielders that will shoot from edge of the box, you know, that kind of thing. And looking at the team that we've got, we do miss some real elements of that. And we all expected some signings of real Bredan Rodgers kind of hallmarks. Like, you know, we always had on the wing, like, I know Edouard played up front for a long time, but Edouard started out kind of left wing when Dembele was centre forward. You know, we had Scott Sinclair left wing. We always had like a really, just to give an example of a Rodgers play, we had a really good left striker winger kind of guy. And then we always had like Forrest on the other side, or Roberts or somebody who would be much more of a winger and be wide and take people on the dribble and try and get those balls in. So it's frustrating that if I know that's kind of the way he likes to play, or that's the typical kind of style of forwards he has, why we're waiting until the 29th of October to go and buy two of them, you know, if he doesn't think that between Abada, which again, in pre-season, Abada, Maeda and Kyogo, early doors, and they looked brilliant the first couple of bits, you know, and I don't get why it's so bad now, or why we need to go and get more strikers, more wingers.
Yeah, more wingers. I don't get it. I don't get the more wingers. And the irony is that towards the end of Rodgers' first spell at Celtic, that was one of the first tells that he was unhappy and that he wanted away, when he said that comment, you know, we're stockpiling wingers. I don't need any more wingers. I would say the same thing right now. I don't think that's the key part of the pitch that we need to improve on. I thought naively that he was going to try and do a bit of what he did at Leicester when he had Jamie Vardy up top and had like a 4-1-4-1, very rigid, transition-based. He'd learned from his mistakes at Celtic with the possession-based stuff that just got ripped apart in Europe. Went transition-based at Leicester, and it worked. That first two seasons at Leicester was excellent. He definitely overperformed. I thought he would come to Celtic and have something like that. I think maybe like a narrow formation or just something different. I thought he would have had a real idea how to exploit teams domestically, but it just looks like he's kind of playing a very uninspired 4-3-3 that's just looks like Ange's kind of, the ghost of Ange is just sadly just disappearing with each game that passes. There's no conviction. So you're hoping that he has a plan, changes things up, just does something, maybe goes to a back three, tries something new. Just get Iwata on the pitch, get Iwata next to McGregor. McGregor can't do that job himself. The guy's a Celtic legend, but he's getting older and older and older. So there's lots of things we can do to solve the problems. We've got the players. The fact that Iwata hasn't played a single minute worries me, because I just think he solves a lot of these problems, and we're just, you know, don't seem interested in using him. Like Maeda, we always mention, lots of people in the comments are mentioning, he's very effective at doing very specific things. But when it's trying to beat a low block, when it's trying to get in behind it, you know, St Johnstone and break that down, the only thing he's good at is getting in behind with making like diagonal runs that he did at Yokohama F. Marinos. But we don't have the players to even find those runs. We don't have the players that can see that pass. So it's frustrating. We've got really talented players all over the pitch, but it just doesn't seem like we've got a system or an idea of a concept how to play yet to really make the most of that. And we kind of maximised that with Ange, didn't we? And now it just feels like we're back to square one, unfortunately.
Yeah. I've got a comment on screen, but I was at the press conference for Celtic here when Bredan Rodgers was unveiled as manager, and I got to ask him, I think one question, it might have been two, but number one, he did very convincingly tell me that the transfer business would be of the same standard in this under him as it was before. Like, I've got that recorded. It's a video. It's on YouTube. You can go and see it. And So he was pretty. He had a lot of conviction when he said that to me, and he also had a lot of conviction in that press conference when he said a big part of his job, from his previous experience, where he thinks coming into it the second time, is keeping players out, i.e., not signing everyone the club brings them to train, as the kind of saying has became, as it were. So I definitely think he has a final say. There's no two ways about that, I think. And I really do think we have to back him to believe that he wants the majority of the things we want, if not them all, and that's what he is working to achieve. And you've got to imagine he only took the job if there was any notion that might have been a reality that we could have lived in, So are we acting too late? Do we not have the money? Have we just made an arse of it somehow? I'm not too sure, but it does not feel like sell Juranovic by Alistair Johnson, sell Giacomakis by O. It doesn't feel like that whatsoever. So again, I seen even yesterday, I didn't know how serious it was, but it's like linked to a loan for Tommy Doyle. And it's like, no, I don't want any of that anymore. Like, we're done with that. We've got money in the bank. We've just sold a guy for a wedge, and we could sell another three guys for another three wedges. You know what I mean? Let's go and get some guys. Let's go get some real guys in.
I don't mind that at this point, as long as they're a good player. I mean, what we're talking about is quality, are the right type of guys for Rodgers to play. What worries me when he's talking about signing is he's given this kind of, I'm the coach and I'll get the best out of them, but the club's signing the players. So in itself, that's kind of a wee bit of distance between him and the club. Now, he was quite complimentary and said that the setup was a lot better and all that type of stuff. But as soon as he comes out and says, well, I'm the coach and it's my job to get the best out of them, but am I signing them? No, I'm realist. I know he's not the recruitment department or whatever, but there is a difference there, because Ange wanted Tatati, Ange wanted Iwata, Kobayashi. I don't think it's been as good as any of those signings, but Ange signed them, and they look like a kind of like an Ange type signing, because he said, I want to sign for that. And then all of a sudden we're thinking, all right, we'll buy guys from Asia who we're going to buy now, and we buy Yang and we buy Kwon and stuff. And Yang looks quite lively, but does Vata not look lively? Do we need this guy at 1.5 or 2 million to bring him in from South Korea when we've got Vata sitting there who doesn't want to sign a contract because he can't get any minutes in the team or whatever the reason is? So I think there's a lot of sort of confusing things there in terms of how we're actually operating in there. Why are we not putting Vata on the bench and signing somebody in the positions we need, rather than going buying Yang, who I think he's done pretty well, and we've got loads of injuries just now as well. But it just seems like a mess of it. It just seems like we've transported ourselves back 3 or 4 years. I know what you're saying, Quinn, about Rodgers saying that he would get the same quality as in before, but when he left, we had guys like Jeremy Toljan at right back and stuff like that.
With
So
Marvin Comper
confidence at all.
He signed Marvin Comper.
Aye. So is that the quality we're going back to?
But Rodgers has always been ridiculously passive when it comes to transfer issues. It kind of bit him at Liverpool when they sold Suarez and then they bought Balotelli, and then he said, it was the transfer committee that bought Balotelli, kind of insinuating I would never sign that maniac, to come in and play. He did the same at Leicester. He started just openly slagging the recruitment at Leicester, saying he just didn't have the quality of player to compete in the Premier League. And he did his first spell at Celtic. He did the same thing with Marian Shved just before he left, just basically slagged the recruitment process and the setup. So he's been like that for a long, long time. This isn't a new thing that he does. So for him to come back in now, and for us already to kind of see those problems within the first couple of months of his second stint, maybe the assurances he was given that Mark Lawwell was going to be on top of this, maybe that's just not true, and that Ange maybe was the driving force, and because Ange wanted specific, players that came in, became stars, convinced all his fans that, you can go to the J-League and get a superstar here and there. Ange drove that. Rodgers is the opposite. He's very passive, and I just think it's maybe one part of his coaching / managerial career that's probably been let him down, because he's a fantastic coach. There's really no one better that Celtic could possibly get than him. But maybe this transfer relationship he has is just holding him back from really taking clubs to the next level, because he always has 2 years, doesn't he, with clubs? 2-3 years. and then he's away.
Yeah, I do. I thought he was the best guy we could get, and that's the only reason that's the only reason for me anyway. It's kind of like, okay, let's get him back in and let's see what he can do, because he is like, who else would be a got kind of thing. He's clearly the best one on paper out there. But again, like, there's a great chat from Hendo in there earlier on talking about potentially, and I think you said something similar, in fact, Sean, as well, but like losing his way a little bit, or maybe we expected him to come back with a bit more of an identity than before, or something. But it definitely does feel like last time when he came in, it was very much hit the ground running, and it was like a whirlwind. It was fantastic, similar to when Ange came in after the first couple of games, of course. And I thought that it would be much more of a pick the team up, keep them going the way they were, and then slowly but surely, kind of put your fingerprint on it and do that kind of thing. But I'm really confused with how this first month has went. Like, how much of it has been, from Bredan Rodgers' perspective, foreseeable? Is this meant to be the plan? Is this not meant to be the plan? Was he promised something and already it's not been kind of followed through on? And I know there's injuries and a lot of unforeseens that have kind of happened as well around this, which might paint things in a different picture, because we're only really see the difference in a lot of our attitudes now. And I know 3 points doesn't make all the difference, right? But it's really 2 goals. If we scored our couple of goals over the last 2 games, then we're still in a cup and we've got 3 points last weekend. And some of the temperature of this is maybe down a degree or 2, but it's kind of good sometimes when these things kind of happen in the worst instance, because it just highlights like this is possible. Like, this could happen later on when the window isn't open and you're down the canoe without a paddle. So go and actually get the business done and, do it right. Yeah.
We're in a transition, and we're in the middle of a window, and we're in the middle of an injury crisis. I mean, we could have bought 5 central defenders this window, and if every single one of them has become injured, we still wouldn't have any central defenders. I mean, Vickers, arguably one of our best players. Navrocki's come in well, done well. He's already injured. Hatate, whether or not you agree with him being left out for one of the initial games, has come on, and within 15 minutes of coming on, he's got injured. So I mean, the solution in midfield might be just getting Hatate back in. That might be part of the solution, but there's still a bit of confusion, obviously, with the other stuff. But I mean, Kilmarnock, we never created any chances. That's more concerning for me than St Johnstone, because Matt O'Reilly just scores one of those chances, then you end up, maybe you score 2 or 3 goals or whatever. But at Kilmarnock, I thought we could have played for another 90 minutes and just not scored, because we weren't really actually creating anything, and that's a bit more worrying, I think, than firing a blanket at home type thing. And coming from watching Ange's playing that type of system and the exciting football, this side-to-side stuff is not really going to endear the fans to Bredan Rodgers either. Like, the first game against Ross County, at least you seen there was goals. Didn't start very well, but then we were scoring goals. The midfielders were getting forward. There was chances inside the box. Turnbull scored 2 big chances missed as well. So we always looked quite dangerous, and you could see what we were trying to achieve there. But I think against St Johnstone, you couldn't really see that. It just wasn't really the same. So there's work to be done, but I think the Kilmarnock game is still a huge concern, because although it's only 1 goal or only 2 goals, we didn't look like scoring 2 goals that game. We never created enough chances to score 2 goals. That's the concern, rather than not taking a few chances at home against St Johnstone, I think.
Yeah. I think Hatate makes a wild difference to the team and how it plays. But again, it just shows you how reliant we are on him. I mean, as soon as it goes for any reason, or we can't play him for any reason, we're back to square one in that sense, And that's why I've been kind of saying over the last couple of weeks, like, I'm not sure we need a left winger to replace Jota. We just need a maverick of some description. Doesn't really matter where they play. We'll find a place for them. But we need somebody that is like really good at unlocking doors, really good at creating something out of nothing. I don't care if they play attacking mid, right wing, centre mid, right back. I don't care. But we need someone with that. So I've not really been too worried about it being a left mid or whatever per se, because I do think in midfield that, if you lose, even if you look at the main 3 as we would look at them, O'Reilly, McGregor and Hatate, really, we're not going to lose McGregor, of course, but if you took O'Reilly or Rio out in this window, we would all agree it would be a huge downgrade on last season. We were all so happy we were keeping all three of them, but we're really, with Hatate in particular, on a real reliance issue that we need to address. Is that for a lot of reasons, we need to be able to play a good team when we've not got him, and equally, when he does go, we can't be where we are now.
The writing was on the wall at the end of last season, though. I mean, do you remember? I know we beat Aberdeen 5-0, but remember the game against Hibs, all that type of stuff. And I said this a couple of weeks ago as well. We were talking about this fantastic squad we had. Well, where was the fantastic squad when we got to the end of the season? And even under Ange, that some of the results still left a lot to be desired. But the difference was, I suppose, that the game against Aberdeen, we turned up and we won the treble and all that type of stuff. So we were turning up in the big games, but then we get beat 3-0 at Ibrox as well. So there definitely are issues there, and the overall squad quality is not any higher. When Rodgers came in, he was talking about, or we were thinking, we maybe would sign one or two good players and we'd have a good go at the Champions League this season. And I'm thinking about this draw and everything coming Thursday and going, hope we don't come fourth. That's the way I feel about it. I'm not even, previous seasons I was thinking about, I might actually go to an away game or something, or go on a trip, and you go into it with some sort of hope. And now I'm thinking about saying it would be good if we get in the Europa League. But that's how bad, that's our level or whatever, I think we could be doing better than that. Back to Livakovic, 6 million. Are we going to say that we can't afford a goalkeeper? Come on. If we wanted a goalkeeper, we'd go and sign a goalkeeper. Guys like that going for 6 million. Look, I don't think we can give excuses anymore for stuff like that. We've spent nearly 20 million, I think, in this one. Is that right? Nearly 20 million? 18,
Agreed.
19.
There's great goalkeepers all over Europe, great goalkeepers in South America, not so great in the K-League and the J-League, but you're right. If we wanted a goalkeeper, we would have had a goalkeeper. Livakovic maybe wasn't going to ever happen because I think Fenerbahce really tracked him for a long, long time. But it's still just depressing seeing him go for €6 million to a team like that. And you just think, imagine he came to Celtic. Not just for us as fans, but like on Sorare. Imagine Livakovic on Sorare. I mean, it's just the most valuable keeper in the game if that happens. So,
unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. I don't think they want to upgrade the goalkeeper position. I think they just clearly want to stick with Joe Hart for another year. Fine, that's what it is. Just need to go into the Champions League and hope that we get a bit of luck, a bit of good fortune, and see what happens. But that, like, I agree with you, McBride. That is just, it's kind of brutal having to just accept that, having to accept that position. Just go, if we get something from this, great. But I'd just be happy sneaking a Europa League place.
Yeah, having a bit of fun.
And the excuse used to be that we couldn't really plan for the Champions League because, we had to qualify. And now we'll just get straight in with 2 seasons in a row. And now the topic of conversation is, but it's next season. That's the big season. No, last season was the big season. The season before that, we've had automatic Champions League for 2 seasons now, and we're still a mess with 2 days to go. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough. And, still a coin flip for the league. The other teams are still not good enough to compete with us, really. So it'll be a coin flip with, another Diddy team in the city that we have to, play against. But we're benchmarking to that. We're benchmarking to some team in Govan. We should be benchmarking to Ajax, Feyenoord, Salzburg. That's what we should be focusing on. And if we do that, we'll get better quickly.
Yeah. I think Frank Brennan's been on it tonight with this comment here. But I had it up, I'll just forward pull it back on that. The treble was never the priority, but it's obviously winning the league, getting Champions League football guaranteed, like we're mentioning there, Sean. And it does feel like if that is the agenda, it is getting into a coin flip situation. I feel coming into this season, they can go and sign 12 players or whatever they're going to do. We're miles ahead of them. We're in a position of strength and we can only do better and move on. But coming to probably the best way to segue, but coming to the game this weekend, this is probably the most unnerving I've felt pre-derby in a long time. Recent form, predicted 11, away from home, obviously. And even though they're playing, when is it, tomorrow night? Tonight. I don't think that really makes much of an impact on the fixture itself. You know, unless
before I talk about that game, have you seen how absolutely disgusted the entire Dutch media and just Dutch football personalities are by Rangers? It's just hilarious. They actually, Van der Vaart was saying, what, just getting it torn into them. There's some PSV legend say, we know now that Rangers don't like football, can't play football. They seem really triggered, PSV, by them. They seem to have they're on it with a hoofball and everything. But
it's because they played them last time as well in that Europa run, so they've had double doses of it.
They get knocked out by them last season as well, didn't they, in the qualifiers?
Yeah. So they know what they're all about. They know it's not a one-off or a tactic for that night. They know that's actually their blood, their DNA, how they actually roll.
When it comes to Sunday, is it Sunday or Saturday when we're playing them? What day? Sunday. When it comes to that game, again, we could easily go there and win. And I actually think we'll get a decent chance.
Yeah.
Because we've still got really good players all over the pitch, and we've got Bredan Rodgers, who's a very, very, very good coach. So we've got all the ammunition and the tools to do it. But they have significantly improved. They swapped out like that Scouse guy for Cifuentes. You know, Ryan, Kamara for that Raskin. Like they've swapped guys out and got better. I would say we haven't. But we've still got a really good team that could go there and easily do damage if they get the team right.
I'm not as confident as that. Simply, Alex made a good point what change would make for the game at the weekend. So on the PSV game, I think the reason the Dutch media etc. will be raging is because you watch that game, thought PSV played really well. They've got loads of class. They've got guys like Sangari, Veerman. When they got the ball, Rangers couldn't get the ball off them, and they dominated possession. And actually, you watch that game back and you say this is going to end 2-2, you would be really surprised because PSV, I think, were the better team. In terms of us going to Ibrox, I wouldn't start Turnbull. I'd play with Awata, McGregor and O'Reilly before I play somebody like Turnbull. But my fear is that we go and we do start with somebody like Turnbull. And actually, I'm not nervous about it. Usually, I'm quite nervous for Old Firm games. I kind of feel a bit resigned, which is the wrong feeling to have. But I'm kind of thinking that we're going to go there and we're not going to get a result because we're playing that badly. I mean, we couldn't beat Kilmarnock. We couldn't score at home against St Johnstone. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it works out a bit better. But I'm not going to that game thinking, yeah, I'm really confident. Even the 3-0 game where we beat last season, I thought we would beat Rangers. But see, this week, I don't think we will. I think if I had money, I would put it on Rangers. And that's kind of, whether it's right or wrong, that's just the place we're in because of the injuries, the mess we're in with the transfer window and all that type of stuff. So it feels as if we've not done enough yet. And we have got our best two central defenders out as well, so that's kind of natural. But if you watch the PSV game, the Rangers PSV game, Rangers have actually got good defenders. Goldson, etc., defended the game quite well. Noah Lang was getting a lot of stick, but Rangers were actually defending quite well over the piece in terms of that game, whereas I don't think we've got that strategy in terms of like being able to contain and defend well and stuff. I just don't know if that's in our armoury at the moment, or maybe even under Ange as well. I don't think that tactic's there. What do you think, Connie?
I'm definitely not putting any money anywhere near the game at all. I do think, and this is probably my favourite part of that whole statement. If I had money, he said.
No, if I was putting money on, I've got a 20 quid limit on Sky Bet and stuff for a reason here, by the way. Because let's not talk about that in this.
No, but I do feel that kind of way as well. We're coming into it. I think probably the best thing going in our favour for the weekend is that they might feel confident, and they probably really shouldn't be coming in from a place of confidence, because if they are going to get a result against us at the weekend, they will probably need to be on their A+ game of, getting every referee decision and killing football and doing all the stuff that they do best. I think maybe that plays into our hand a little tiny bit. I don't know that we are on the back foot so much. Maybe Rangers do come out with a wee bit more. Because normally we've got them in the back foot. They're on the back. They're normally the one on bad form, playing catch up and all this kind of stuff. Yes, I know we're still ahead of them in the league at this moment, of course. But I don't know, maybe they came out at home, especially if they get imagine they get a positive result on bloody Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever it is, I'm sure it's tomorrow.
It's Tuesday, Quinny, come on.
Today is Tuesday. Sorry, it's been
We
a
were 3
mad couple of days
minutes
for
late.
me.
This is Tuesday.
Today, as far as my kind of, this is Monday in my reality, really, to be honest with you. I know you all think it's Tuesday, but for me, it's really Monday. So, yeah, sorry. Imagine they get through, as well. They probably will be quite buoyant, quite confident, especially at home. And that's probably one of the things I think we could have in our favour is that, when it actually comes to football, if they're going to try and be confident and they're going to try and take the game to us, that might actually be brilliant for us because then that's not the way they normally play,
Yeah. I don't think there's an expectation of getting a result in an Old Firm game, but I don't feel as if we're going to go there and win. So if we go and we get a draw and we play a bit better or whatever, I don't think that's a disaster at this stage with previous form and with the injury stuff and everything and just bringing in guys and a transition and all that sort of stuff. But kind of slightly scared about getting murdered as well. I don't know. I just not really.
What, in general, or in the game, or just what somebody?
The prophet looks as if he wants to murder me. He's talking about the last rites and all that sort of stuff. But no, murdered as in going to go or so down early on and just it'll go into pot. Yeah, because we were never really in the game there in the 3-0 game last season, were we? So we've got to be realistic. There is a good chance that we could lose if we keep playing the way we've done the last 2 games.
4-2-3-1. Put Kilmarnock and Awata together. Get O'Reilly as a number 10. Get Dyson out left. Get Abada out right. Kyogo through the middle. Just go nuts. Go Tonto. Yeah, I don't know. I would change something. I would not play the same way. I would not do the McGregor as the deep lying player and leave him on his own. I wouldn't do that for sure. But there's no way he's going to play Awata. So it's going to be tough. But you know what? The games are so chaotic, and I've seen many, many games where Celtic have went there and been far the better team and get beaten. And I've seen games where, Rangers have came to Celtic Park and played pretty well and we've thumped them. So it's just a chaotic game. So hopefully we'll get the luck of the draw and we'll just get a wee cheeky result. I genuinely don't think it's that doom and gloom. I think, people are talking like we have got no chance. It's probably a 50-50. What the bookies saying? It's probably like Rangers are probably, a bit better than evens, and Celtic are probably like 19-10 or something like that. It's going to be a competitive game, so I wouldn't give up yet. I think we've got a decent chance, but I'm not going to be putting any of them in Sorare teams. I won't be relying on any performances at Celtic players in Sorare teams. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're moving them to one side and put them all together. So if the result comes in, we can be happy. And if it doesn't come in, then nothing else has been damaged.
Joe Hart, he had a clean sheet and 2 saves at the weekend. 2 saves.
Yeah. We could have. It's one of those games where some of the best results in this game come when they're unexpected. That's the kind of part that I'm kind of holding on to. It's kind of what you were saying, Sean. Sometimes you play great in these games and it doesn't work out. And that's kind of when I kind of hold. To come back to Alex's great question from earlier, from the last couple of games, imagine we don't sign anyone. We get Palma in, right? But the squad as it stands today, right? What changes would you make coming into this game to make a material difference? Is it just Awata or, is it as simple as, the front three? We started with Yang at the weekend. Is it just getting the front three back on all cylinders? What is the big change that we hope to see from the manager? Is it Turnbull not starting, or... I'm not too sure what other options there is.
I'd play in the counter attack. I would go there and actually just acknowledge that with no fans there, if Rangers tails are up, that in the first 10-15 minutes you're going to be you'll expect to be under the cosh and play more on the counter attack.
I think it's a decent idea. We've got guys like Maeda, Kyogo, Abada. These guys are rapid and almost never get to play with any space from behind a defence. So it's one of the games where I actually think, the attacking threat of the opposition is much, much higher. You're going for playing St Johnstone or Kilmarnock to playing Rangers. Rangers have significantly better players on much higher wages than those teams, but it gives you an opportunity to hurt in behind. It gives you all this space Tavernier basically just roams like a playmaker from right back. That gives you space. And who have we got? Daizen Maeda. So there's going to be massive opportunities on the counter. So I agree with you, McBride, that actually that might suit us, but it's all about the state of the game. We can't go 1-0 down. We just can't go 1-0 down within 15, 20 minutes. Or else you're just up against it. And you really need to be a strong team, like Ange's team was when they went 1-0 down. Aaron Ramsey scored. And they clawed the game back. They dug in. They got those 2 goals in the first half. I mean, that was just because that Ange team was exceptional. If we go 1-0 down, I just don't fancy our chances on Sunday. But I think there's lots to be positive about in terms of hurting them, particularly in transition on the break. I think we could surprise people, but it's not good. It's not a nice feeling going into this game. It's not positive. Quinny, this is the most down I've seen you look. You look visibly exhausted and miserable with Celtic.
I just can't get that excited about this weekend. Like, I really can't. Like, I mentioned the comments earlier, but they were very firmly at the front of my mind getting ready to come in tonight for the shows. Like, I can remember, the press conference with Brendan, I can remember him saying the words, "A big part of my job is keeping players out." He actually said that. Those were his words. I'm not even paraphrasing there. And, again, to find us where we're at the moment, and I'm sure he has maybe kept some players out. I'm not saying we've signed anyone that should be kept out. I think a lot of guys have still got some yards to go to prove what they could add to the team. But yeah, it's hard to be buzzing to go and play them this weekend because we're off the back of 2 bad performances, 2 bad results for sure. And I just don't really see what the answer is with the current squad, with the current manager, because like I say, it doesn't feel like this squad really just fits into what he's trying to get up to. And then, how far away are we from pivoting into it working the way he wants to work? And that being said, really, how much change do you even need to bloody make? Surely one of the values of keeping John Kennedy and Strachan and all that in situ is that you say, right, guys, see what we were doing last season? Make sure we keep that ticking over for the first little while. You know what I mean? Greg Taylor, you can go and do all that stuff. Knock yourself out, pal. Keep doing it. Get the team, keep the team ticking over. Why? Don't take the wheels off it and start working on it. Keep it running. You know what I mean? And then as you go, right, okay, well, I actually want a better guy than him. And I actually don't really like that. I'm going to change this now. Maybe do it that way rather than the way we've went. I don't know. But I just find that it's hard to get excited for the weekend other than, let's say, try to find the silver lining to get excited about. That maybe it'll be fine.
I'm going to go
now. I'm actually kind of hopeful as well because I've been so bullish the other way and it's backfired over the last 2 weeks. That maybe now being down in the dumps, it'll backfire in a good way, So
I think so. I think it'll be a wee surprise for you, Quinny.
Yeah, I'm going to head now, Quinny. Got some sort of rewards.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've just seen how long we've been on for. Jumping Jimmies. Well, finally, guys, before we do go, right? Team at the weekend. I seen a predicted team come in here that included the Wata in defence, right? But really, the back line, it can only really be Scales and Lagerbielke, can't it? I don't see anyone else coming in. And even if we sign someone else... Yeah.
I think it'd have to be Johnson, Scales, Lagerbielke and Taylor. Because there's nobody really else available. And even if you said, well, prefer a Wata in there, as Sean says, he's not played a single minute in any of these games, even in the Cup at Kilmarnock. So why would you throw him in at Ibrox?
He's just not going to do that. He's not going to do that.
Question marks and the dilemmas will be in midfield and up front. But yeah, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I won't keep you any longer. Thanks to everyone that did join us. It's been an emotional live chat.
Thanks to the prophet. What a nice guy. I bet his life's going really well at the moment.
Catch you next time.
Having a good time.